If you feel like you're always working really hard, then you're doing something wrong. And I know that sounds backwards in a world where everybody tells you that you have to work 18 hours a day and sauna and cold plunge and wear blue light blockers and be a virgin for your whole life to make a lot of money. But I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. It should get easier over time. It should start to feel subconscious and money should start to just be flowing to you over time. Otherwise, you're just being an idiot or you're in the wrong vehicle. You are doing something fundamentally wrong. And if you compare it to anything else in life that you've mastered, whether it's a video game or a sport or any endeavor that you've gotten pretty good at, even driving, at first, it sucks. And you have to be very calculated, very technical, and very meticulous. You have to consider every move that you're taking. Like I grew up playing basketball. And I remember when I was learning how to dribble, I had to first learn like, okay, how do I touch the ball when I'm pushing it down to the ground? How do I do that? And then every move, it's like, where do my feet go? Where do the angles go? How do I release the ball when I shoot? What are the last two fingers to touch it? You have to be very just calculated about everything. But over time, it gets easier because all of those things just get programmed into you. And you begin to have this kind of subconscious flywheel that if you build the right foundation, as you just work more and as you work harder, it gets easier. So it's not like you're constantly fighting this uphill battle. You just built it the right way and now you have kind of your legs underneath you and it gets a lot easier. It's the same way in business. So I'm about 4, almost 5 years into my entrepreneurial career now. And over the past few years, I've made millions of dollars. I live in a real Miami penthouse, not a 2-bedroom with a den. And you're like, oh, it's Miami penthouse. It's a real Miami penthouse. I know I'm sounding like an asshole, but just so you know, I've made a lot of money online and it has gotten easier over time, and I've never felt like I really was working that hard. At first, it was difficult, not because I had to work really hard, but because I was just kind of retarded. And everybody starts off that way. You just start off like an absolute idiot. You're completely lost, you're directionless, you want to try every different business model and you get shiny object syndrome and you just bounce from one thing to the next, and then eventually you realize that you're like a little goldfish that's just being an absolute idiot, and you stick to one thing, you commit to it, and you finally find success. That's how it always goes. And sometimes when I think about my journey, I almost feel a little guilty because it was never that difficult. Like I worked hard, but you know, I hear people talk about these crazy come up stories and all of these losses and wrong turns and blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, I've had challenges. Yes, I've felt directionless and lost, but like looking back, that was just me being an idiot. That wasn't anything outside of that. And once I picked the right vehicle and I kind of had that foundation underneath me, I had the right skill set, I had the right subconscious programming, money just started flowing to me abundantly. And the way this happened is, at first I started like everybody else. I was like, okay, I want to make money online. Even when I was in middle school, bro, I was like looking at how to make money trading, and I thought the stock market would make me rich. And then at one point I was like, okay, I'm gonna build an e-com brand, and then I tried videography, and I tried all of these different side hustles, and then finally I arrived at one that I actually stuck to for an extended period of time. And this was 4 or 5 years ago. It was the SMMA marketing agency model. And I think the SMMA is a beautiful business because it is fairly difficult. I know I'm telling you that it's not that hard and you shouldn't work hard, but just hear me out for a sec. So it's fairly difficult because there's a lot of skills and a lot of moving pieces that are involved with that business, but it's not too difficult to where you can't learn it as a complete beginner. Like the actual fulfillment side is relatively easy, and getting clients is easy if you know what you're doing, but it's perfect because it forces you to wear a bunch of different hats and learn a bunch of different skills. Like there are probably other business models that are easier to start because you only have to learn 1 or 2 skills. But an agency is awesome because you can very easily translate those skills to any business that you run in the future. So I started this agency and I got it to 20K a month within about a year and a half. And finally I was making real money as an entrepreneur. I dropped out of college, I was living in Mexico for a bit, and I finally had like that freedom that I wanted, except it wasn't quite as good as I thought it would be. Like I felt like I was constantly on a hamster wheel and I always had to get more and more clients, and I just didn't have like as solid of a foundation as I wanted. But to be fair, business had gotten a lot easier. Like I was now accustomed to making money, and hopping on sales calls and closing deals no longer felt like this daunting task that I had no idea how to do. It was just getting more natural. But I reached this point where I was making around 20K a month, and I had like 15 to 20 clients because I was charging $1,000 a month. I was in a really bad niche, and I was like, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. Like I'm really skilled at this point. I've been in this game for about a year and a half, and I know how to write copy, I know how to acquire clients, I know how to get on sales calls and build funnels, and I have all these skills, but I'm not making as much money as my friends are who are kind of in a similar position, but a different industry, a different vertical. But I know I'm like more intelligent than them, I know I'm more skilled than them, so what am I doing wrong? And then I made one decision that made everything easier. And it's interesting because you could almost describe this decision as shiny object syndrome, or like, you know how people will say, oh, I don't like going to the gym because it hurts. I didn't like running this business the way that I was running it anymore because it fucking hurt. It was like just too difficult, and I was sick and tired of trying to close $1,000 deals and always have to acquire clients and blah, blah, blah. So I made a decision that I was like, okay, maybe this will make it easier. I looked around and I was like, where is everybody making all of the money? I'm working with small local boomer businesses running an SMMA, but all of my friends who are making money are selling courses or working with people that are selling courses. And everybody that I see online who's talking about, oh, I'm making $50,000 or $100,000 a month plus, what are they doing? They're selling coaching. But the thing is, I didn't have anything to sell coaching on. I was like, okay, well, that'd be great, but you know, I'm a beginner little agency owner here. I can't sell a course on how to make 20K a month with an agency because I've only been doing it for a short amount of time, and I don't know how to make content. I don't want to make content right now. Like, what should I do? So I came with this bright idea of let's take this skill set and let's apply it to a different vertical, which is now working with people that sell coaching and info products. And that small little pivot made business a lot easier. A year after I made that decision to go all in on working with people that sell info, I hit $100,000 a month with my agency. And it's not because I learned a lot of new skills or was even better than I was before. It was just, okay, I have my foundation built. This marketing stuff is kind of subconscious now. Like I have a really good understanding of it. Let's move to a different lane that'll reward me further for the existing skill set that I have. And everybody was making all this money selling coaching, and at the time especially, like nobody was doing this model. Now there's IPGA and growth operating and all of these people kind of talking about this type of business. But at the time, I was one of the only ones. Everyone needed someone like me. All the people that were selling coaching and info products, they needed someone who could be their marketer, their right-hand guy when it came to the systems and the operations and all of the copy, the funnels, the VSLs. They needed somebody like me, and all that stuff wasn't that difficult to learn. I already knew it because I was running a different agency, and I just applied it to a better vertical. I have a mentor that says business is a game that's played with the mind. And that decision was like a little chess move for me. There was no nobility in taking the harder route. Like, I remember even when I was running that business, I was like, you know what, like this is a legit business. My friends that are making money, they're just making more money than me because they're selling courses or they're working with people that are selling courses. I would cope and kind of virtue signal in doing this, but all I was doing was making it harder on myself and keeping myself stuck at 15 to 20K a month, which is fucking poverty. That's actually like the worst amount of money to make because you're making enough money to where you can almost kind of taste success, but you're not making enough to where you can actually spend freely. Like, I'd rather make 5 to 10K a month than 15 to 20 because you can get a bit more complacent at 15 to 20 as well. This is kind of a side note. But anyway, if you're smart about it, business can be like any other field that you mastered. Same way with driving. When you first get in a car and you're like, okay, how do I put the fucking key in the ignition? How do I turn it on? And you're just like going through a parking lot and you're trying not to hit the curb and your mom's probably in the passenger seat like, what the fuck, honey? You're about to kill us. It's really difficult and you have to think about it very consciously. But over time it just gets easier and you no longer have to think about these things. And then you can drive a supercar. You can actually be in a better vehicle. Business is the same way. And life in general is the same way. There is no shame in taking the easier route. It's the smarter, more logical thing to do. If you can identify the opportunity, if you can identify how to assert yourself into a system that just makes it easier to make money, that's how you make a lot of money. And in my example, the reason that I was able to go from stuck at 15 to 20K a month for so long to making over 100K a month is because my skill set was more in demand in a different vertical, and it would go further. Those types of businesses like info products and courses scale really fast, really lean. So I was able to just get a rev share, and instead of having to always get more clients to make more money, I could just focus on locking in with a few really good clients and scaling with them, and then they end up paying me multiple 5 figures from that rev share. So this is like the definition of work harder, not smarter. And I'm not gonna bullshit you. I'm not gonna tell you that it's always gonna be easy, and there will be parts in the trenches where it just kind of sucks and you're sending outbound messages and nobody's replying to you, or you just feel like you're completely lost or completely in over your head, and that's okay. That is natural. Everybody's gone through that. And if you make it through that, then it starts to get a lot easier. It starts to feel more natural, feel more subconscious, and you just start cooking. Like, even talking to the camera, any skill that I've ever mastered in life, it's the same thing. First time I ever picked up the camera and I looked like a fucking idiot and I sounded like a fucking idiot, and I can look back at those videos right now and they'd absolutely make me cringe. But it's the reason now where this feels a bit easier. And in 40 years, it'll be more subconscious, I'll be even better, I'll have even more leverage, more reps, more just experience under my belt that makes it all flow. You just have to make it through the 6 months to a year where you're just unlearning all of your bad programming. Like, everybody kind of comes into the entrepreneur space with fucked up wires. You learned how to take orders from others. You learn not to take initiative. You learn to rely on other people to give you conviction, and you don't really know how to assert yourself and be articulate and just be in control. So your first 6 months to a year in business, you're kind of just unlearning that. And you'll see yourself probably lose confidence and try to convince yourself to start a different business model because it looks shinier or sexier. And you'll go through that a few times, and finally you'll come to the conclusion of like, okay, if I want to make this work, if I want to do this, I have to stick to one thing. I have to actually commit to learning a good skill set and building a solid foundation here. And I know that if I do this, it'll just get easier. But right now I'm in the part that sucks. Yes, I want overnight success. Yes, I want to get to 10K a month or 20K a month or 100K a month as quickly as possible. But if I try to take a shortcut before I ever build the foundation, then it's just not going to work. And I can promise you the other side is worth it. Being in a position where it feels like money just flows to me abundantly and opportunities fall into my lap every single day. Everything comes easily. It's all worth it. And I didn't have any special advantages. I didn't have anything that you don't have. I was once the same kind of lost kid who was on the other side of the screen watching YouTube videos and just hoping that it was actually real, hoping that I could actually make money online and that all of the people talking about it weren't frauds. But finally, I got over the hump because I just lasted long enough. Business is just a game of attrition. If you stay in the game through the point where it's really difficult, it starts to get easier and you start to easily identify other opportunities where you can grow exponentially, and you take advantage of that, then you're gonna get everything you want. And it's gonna feel easy, it's gonna feel like you're swimming with the tide, but you have to earn that. And you can't get through it any other way than by toughing it out in the beginning. So anyway, like, subscribe, comment, share this with your grandma. Go to the description if you wanna work with me directly. All right, bye.